Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Blessings, greetings to you. My name is David Null. My shaman Native American name is Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I, a few minutes ago, just finished a live stream with one of my new good friends, Brian, at Milky Way Weekly. And I wish to absolutely say thank you, Brian. Thank you, all the folks who have listened, who tuned in. I'm not able to see the chat using that, which is probably a good thing. Not that I would remark wrong, but I get sidetracked too easily. Um, but I wish to thank all of my new subscribers. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I'm hoping that um, I'm not too boring. Um, there are many things. If you've just subscribed, there are things I've done in previous channels, but I will give a very quick update. Um, I have been an engineer, machinist, mechanic, worked on a carnival for a bunch of years. At the age of 14, I was able to put up and tear down a bunch of different kinds of um, carnival rides, from um, merry-go-round to the from one end of the spectrum to the train for children, and the octopus, and Rocco plane, the Tilda World, all of those. I knew how to do all that by the time I was 16. I mean, I was already some of the bigger rides. Um, I wasn't big enough. I just couldn't push that iron around. I was just still too dead gum skinny. But to the point though, I still worked on them and knew how to set them up and tear them down. Anyway, sideline. Um, I've worked in the auto industry, making spark plug wires for Ford of Europe and USA, for all of Chrysler, for a lot of Honda and a lot of Nissan. And so I've worked with some big time engineers in Detroit. I've been to Toronto and rubbed elbows with a bunch of the top notch engineers up there and worked on some very special projects. Now, unless you were in the manufacturing area, you wouldn't know what a big deal some of this was. But when you can make a machine run 3 times longer and require less parts, that to someone in the manufacturing business is like a really big deal. That was my job. Improve things, make them better, make them more simple, be able to. I created training programs for some of the machine tools and things, and I had outlines and guidelines and all types of things. All of this to help out the company. So when I lost my job, like a lot of other people through NAFTA and things, I backed up, and I have been a puppeteer and a storyteller for, I don't know, 30 some years. I've traveled to Tennessee, North Carolina, um Ohio, Georgia, South Carolina, Florida. I did do a place, yep, South Carolina, Alabama, and Florida. So all those states. Now Georgia is the state I live in, and so I have had more experience here in the state of Georgia. So as a puppeteer and a storyteller, I've traveled around. I've met lots of different people. So I have a lot of experience in things. So just a little bit of background history of where I'm coming from. Now, at the age of 11, I had my first sure enough contact with Mother Mary and angels. And so I'm now 65 and will be 66 in September. And so at the age of 11, I was told um, by Mother Mary, quite no sense of beating around the bush. Um, I was raised Catholic all 12 years of high school through high school, and wanted to become a priest. And one of my Dominican nun teachers at Tampa Catholic, Sister Helene, advised me to study Buddha because she told me then in 1970 that Jesus really was like Buddha. And I won't go into all the religious aspects because I've discussed that in other videos, and I'm going to be more pointed about that again, that ties some more of this stuff together. Where am I headed with this? Okay, well, I'm I've been getting messages for a long time now. Some people call it channeling, and some people call it this and that. And I just, I just hear my guardian angel when I was younger. Now, on my path to learn more about my spirit being, like Buddha would, or even Jesus, to travel through the countryside, to visit places, to go to holy places, to go and meditate, and to find out more about yourself, to go inward, to find out how to go outward. And so, with that said, what has happened is that, um, and this goes back to when I was younger, that when they asked me as a young child, what are you going to be when you grow up? And I told them at the age of 5 that I was going to be a hermit, live in the woods on a river. And I do live on a river and in the woods. And at the present time, I'm more or less a hermit. Self-imposed in a way, but in other ways, my health and I've had some really severe head trauma that wasn't my fault, and that I'm being healed from the inside. I am healing from the inside. Um, and a few years ago, I wouldn't have been able to speak. I'd be drooling out my mouth and so forth. So I've come a long way, baby, and in from my own personal thing. So, in realizing that I wish to be more of a spiritual being, especially in my later life, without any type of major responsibilities, that I decided then that I would become a prayer warrior. That if I couldn't travel and do the things like I really wanted to, and very limited income, I was smart enough to buy this piece of property and it's paid for. So, where other people have issues and things, I have my own property, and I live far enough out in the country. I've got my own well, garden, and things. So, I planned this out a long time ago, before any of this end of the world stuff started coming up. I was what they called back in the day a back to earther. Okay, Mother Earth News. I still have some of the original first editions, and so with that, basically I've become a pioneer. Now, when I learned that I had Native American heritage, I started looking into what the Native Americans call the red path, the red road. All right. And which means that being the red nation, skin color, so forth, but not all Native Americans have red skin, by the way. Um, that to stay on the red road meant to follow the path of a shaman. And now some people might say, well, that you want to become a medicine man and this spells. Wait a minute. There's a lot to this being a shaman. And I wish to go there real quick, because what I've learned about being a shaman, and I come to find out that actually I think I qualify by some very strict rules, if you will. Not just that I went down to the store and read a book on it, and now I burn sage and I'm a shaman. No. I've had some very intense, severe, in that it was very hot. The conditions were very stressful, so that you had to overcome physical things with your mind in order to go through them, such as sweat lodges and just different extremes of temperature, both hot and cold, very wet or very dry, and still survive the environment, knowing that you have the spirit within you is strong enough to carry you through much more than most people realize. And so, in doing that, it's basically finding out that each of us are angels, is what it boils down to. And so that when we learn about what a lot of folks call as higher self, that's about what I'm talking about as well. I'm sticking to my vernacular so as not to confuse anyone about what someone else in some other place is doing. Um, a lot of people would say they would regard me as what I'm doing as channeling. Maybe. I just have a clear connection. I've had it for a long time. It's just I have a spirit guide, and when I'm heading in the wrong direction or I need a little bit of help with clarification on something, Sometimes I have to ask for clarification, and sometimes it just comes in just various ways. And the more that I allow this to happen, um, only positive things have come out of this. If there's hasn't been any kind of want to go kill, maim, none of this kind of stuff. No possession in that respect. All right. No hocus pocus, wave a magic wand. Now, as a Native American as a person with Native American heritage, I understand what it is to do a drum, to go to a powwow, to have a ceremony. Now, these things are special, and if you if the situation that you're working on, say for example, and I've used this and still do, but um, if I wish to to help a healing of a person, of their spirit, and that they're also, they're dying physically, so it's sort of a two-way whammy. They're really scared, and actually, trying to help them understand that with positive energy and less fear, that's where I'm going with the title of this: guilt, shame, fear, that type thing. um, in that when you stop being afraid, you stop feeding the negative energy. You stop feeding the disease because it requires a negative. It requires a low acid. It requires that your energy vibrations are low for the cancers or the diseases to grow. So, with that in mind, my prayer or my ceremony may include the fact that I'm asking for extra help. And any good angels up yonder that can help, then my drumming is respect. I drum as the heartbeat of Mother Earth. I drum as a frequency for respect and in respect to create a harmony within that drum circle or that ceremonial circle or that chair you may be sitting in or whatever. That the drum helps you to bring vibration into that which you ask for or seek. Now, I'm never has there been a time that I would have ever tried to bring harm upon someone in any type of quote ceremony. Now, some folks might say, well, that's heebie-jeebie. Okay. But science is starting to find out that when you when you show respect to water or plants or play good music, the plants grow better. When you play, head banging, demon music kind of thing, plants shrivel up and die. So there are harmonies and energies in this universe, on this planet, that have been proven over and over again. The harmonic balance of things in nature, the harmonic balance of each of us individuals. We each have our own vibrational signal, much like a radio station. And so, in this day and time right now, it's more critical, in my opinion, in my 65 going on 66 years of being on this planet. It's more important right now that we understand these simple things that are changing our vibrations, things that are trying to keep our vibration low so that we are unable to learn on a higher level. There are new energies coming into the cosmos, through the galaxy, through our solar system. Brian and I discussed them in the video earlier on this evening, and I've checked all the instruments, and I don't know where this energy is coming from. I suspect where this energy is coming from. But now, the things that, regardless of where this energy is coming from out there in space, okay, something that we all must consider is our own vibrational energies, our own soul, our own spirit, our own angel self, as an is be. Each one of us are responsible for this. Now, I don't know of anybody that can, hold back the galactic waves coming in. That's a little much, you know. However, if any one of us knew our full potential and remembered our full potential, we might be able to rise up and put a hand up and go, okay, galaxy waves, be nice to us on planet Earth. It's quite feasible, plausible, and the more scientists dig into quantum mechanics, etc., the more it proves that, quote, spiritualism or thought processes or whatever are can actually affect things. And so you can say, well, Mr. Dave, everything's groovy and fine and dandy, and what's that got to do with guilt and shame and all this stuff? Well, in having conversations with more people, hanging out in chat rooms, knowing what I know of all the people that I've met in my 66 years here on this planet, is that there are a lot of folks who are carrying hidden things, and some of these things are stuck in their subconscious. Now, I say this, and I want to go into this just a little bit. Oh, Miss Marie, good afternoon. It's evening here for me, but a good afternoon to you, my dear. And greetings and blessings to you on the other side of the planet. Woo woo. But my angel messages and the Mother Mary messages are that I'm supposed to speak upon this. And it's may not be some earth-shattering information, but it needs to be explained into a degree where some folks actually don't let their psyche go. They're too busy with everyday life to be able to notice that these little tiny things create a negative drain on their cell phone, if you will, them being the cell phone. And that there is a constant drain that they might absolutely not be aware of. Now, all these cosmic rays and all these other things happening are just helping to make this thing an even bigger jumbled mess. But part of my job in this is to maybe help you to wade through some of this and to maybe be able to pick out and go, that is a negative emotion. You're right. Every time I go by this driveway, the dog runs out and I go, bad dog. And that right there is like, I get pissed off for 5 minutes because of that dog chases my car every time. And people don't realize that there are little things that happen, maybe not every single day in their life, but little things that might tick them off. And it just, but the thing is that they have the moment and that the subconscious remembers everything. Now, I need to deviate slightly, but I need to go into my head trauma issues. And dang, boy, I just got slapped in the old proverbial brain noggin there. Oh, my apologies. Where was I? Dang, gummit. I see the full moon through the window there for the first time tonight. It's way low in the sky, y'all. Oh, holy moly. Oh, wow. It's sunk even further south. Oh, man. This earth is really in a wobble, Miss Marie. Man, oh, man. Last night, did you come on early this morning with us, Miss Marie? By the way, wow, that moon is really low already starting out. Well, we discussed it earlier this evening with Brian on Milky Way and how the synchronicity with all of us just popped up. When you saw the moon last night, did you come on early this morning when there was a few of us there, or yesterday, or it was our morning? But yeah, the synchronicity of that was just plain weird. Like all of us went, huh? What's going on? And I checked gauges, and the sun was way down. There's almost zero solar wind. But however, whatever this energy that hit us, the Schumann Residence was spiking big time last night at the exact same moment at 4 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I started this live stream, right? And so the Schumann Residence was really peaking up bad or good or however. Anyway, I'm off the charts. So the synchronicities that are going with this. So what I wish to go into with my brain issues are that I became pretty much a vegetable sitting up, drooling, and not being able to take care of myself. And I realized down deep inside my core that this had to change. Either that, you were cooking pancakes. Ooh, that sounds good. I got me some fresh eggs finally. You know, my hens didn't lay for almost 4 days. Some of them still haven't laid, and it's almost a week now. But this is the summer solstice and a full moon. So, but anyway, so what it caused me to do was, in my journey as a shaman, you must face many fears. Now, I could go down in the swamp and I could face water moccasins and alligators and being drowned, but I couldn't face the fact that what would happen if my electricity went off for 2 days. What? I mean, but I go camping. Yeah, but if I'm at the house and the lights go off for 2 days, what do I do? Well, but I mean, I didn't realize that there was a little part in the back of my brain that was like, but what if? Because it's a different scenario. Even though I got all my camping gear here and I could, light all kinds of lights and blah, blah, blah. I have a gas stove, instead of an electric, so I can go cook and bake. I have several tanks of propane, stored up in case I need them. And so what do I need? Really? And I have water in tanks that I can have gravity feed. There's 30 gallons of water sitting up on the hill. If the lights go out and the pump goes off, I have gravity feed of about 25 gallons of that water that's up there. And because it's higher than the house is, it doesn't need to have any pressure. It will gravity feed into the house up to a point, but then I can just go up there and drain the rest. Plus, I can drop a bucket in the well and pull out water. So, and it was more south than its northern orbit. I have to check where it sets. That's what Milky Way and me were discussing. It started out kind of up here and ended up way over yonder. Now I'm sitting here looking out my little window, and this is at way the wrong angle. I shouldn't be looking at the moon this way out my window. I should be having to look over and up, and I can see the moon through here. Wrong. But that's been, let's see, tonight's Friday. It's Friday night here, almost Saturday morning. Yeah, so it's been a week that it has really wobbled south, but it wobbled south a whole lot just yesterday. That was creepy. And along with all the Schumann Residence. But I looked all around and I couldn't see anything that was like out of whack as far as the solar wind or anything coming off of the sun. But we sure were getting our back ends hijacked with some magnetic energies, and they're either coming in from the side, depending on which way you want to look at us in relationship to the sun, but they're not coming from the direction of the sun. They're coming from a different direction. And apparently it is having something to do with the Schumann Residence. Not sure what, but well, it sure jacked a few of us up last night at 4 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. I know that for sure. Oh, also, and when I was on my video last night, I was discussing about that I could feel a rumble under my feet, and I could. And also, I could hear this low, like machine kind of thing, almost in a pattern, like a not like that, but similar. And so the humming isn't right. That's just for a pattern. But now today I've done different things. There were vehicles going on up the road up there, which normally send vibrations through the floor. The fans are on, and I sat right here and said, okay, Nothing. I couldn't hear the sound. The hum isn't there with my feet. So I checked the nearest seismographs about 4:30 this afternoon, and come to find out that about 4 o'clock this morning, ish, 2, 3, 4, that it was very light to see, but in the Tifton, Georgia, the Blakely, Georgia, and then the Crawfordville, Florida, those are the three nearest me. And I'm kind of triangulating there. But anyway, that Crawfordville, instead of a mostly a straight line, it was going like this, just wiggle, 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 real close, and sometimes go stink, but it was constant for like 3 hours. Just not much, but it was there, and it was really prevalent down in Crawfordville, which is south of me in Florida, about the same distance, about 80 or 90 miles to Crawfordville from here than it is, as the crow flies, as it is to Blakely, about 75 or 80 miles to the west. Tifton's about 50 miles north of me. And so, but Tifton showed this same constant wiggle for hours. Just spike a little bit, keep going. Now, granted, it never got very big as far as the line goes, but you could tell like an hour before it, the line was almost perfectly straight, almost. But then all of a sudden at about 2 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, it started just little zigzags up and down. And it just kept going, all three monitors. So something was going on. There was some kind of harmonic thing that would have made all of them do that pattern. Now, the seismologists and everybody go, oh, man, that's just BS. That's bullshit, Dave. Look, I've been watching these seismographs for a long time, and I can go back to these seismographs, and even though I'm in an area where earthquakes are supposed to like never happen, when we can, then why do they have one in Blakely? Well, that's because Blakely's on the other side of the river from a nuclear power plant on the Chattahoochee River. Yeah. But so anyway, so I checked all the instruments. I checked everything I could, but there was something going on. Now, like I say, it was minute as far as being picked up, but it was steady for the length of time I felt it here at my house. Okay. With that said, moving on. So I want to get to the fact that these energies are going up and down on us, and I've described about riding a wave and staying on a surfboard and etc. And it's also, and Brian brought something else out too about in this time with all these energies that we need to try to stay as balanced as possible. And one thing I wish to explain, though, that in our normal reality of a year or two or however many years back, before this paradigm we are in currently, where the waves might have come in and hit us, and then it was, fairly level for a while, and then another one would come in. We're getting these things like boom, 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 like little mini tsunamis every once in a while. The fact that every one of us woke up at 4 o'clock this morning. A few days ago, we were on Monday. Brian called me and goes, man, their energies are low. Oh, my goodness. That's true. Well, guess what? In speaking about the waves, I discussed that, you got the valley of the wave and you've got the crest of the wave. And so, right now, many of us are feeling like we're sitting on a crest of something. And so, but as this wave passes us, remember, though, in a couple of days, we might end up in a little bit of slump, and everybody go, wow, Jesus, I can't believe how tired we are. That's because of the wave height. Okay. If the waves were little shorter waves, we wouldn't have as much whoa. So the angel message is this: consider yourself and picture yourself in a big inner tube, better than an air mattress, but anyway, just inner tube, because it's hard to tip them buppies over, right? And that you're in an inner tube, and that the inner tube will help us, because of the size of the waves, to stay as balanced as possible. Now, if you look at an oscilloscope, there's a line down the middle, and the wave goes up, then it goes up. I'm just going to use 4. It goes up 4 points, and then it crosses the line, and it goes down 4 points. That's 8 points worth of drop or rise, depending on where you are. Well, if the wave is 8 points high, then you've got 8 points low. Okay. Now, it might be only 4 points off of what we would consider a balance point, a harmony point, a base point, so that we could feel these waves at 2 blocks up, okay, or 1 block up, which is almost flat. Well, you see it, so we could just hum along. That's the days you get out the jet ski or whatever, but we're in heavy waves right now, energetically from the galaxy, and the jet skis are not permitted at the moment. We all need to be a little more safer and get ourselves in an inner tube. Make sure we don't sink and that we can stay with the wave. Now, there's still going to be a crest and there's still going to be a valley. Okay. Now, the message is, everyone, pay attention. We're having a high right now. So in a few days, don't be surprised if we hit the bottom of that trough before we start up the face of the next wave. Now, what good does that do, Mr. Dave? Awareness of what's going on is so much part of being able to make do in the wilderness when you got nothing. You watch your surrounding and see where the waves are. If you see one coming off in the distance, to let your stomach settle and ride with this one. And don't freak out when you come up across the next one. You can get a set of pattern in your head so where you don't get seasick, and there is a mindset, and that puts you in a type of, how do I put it, a survival mode, if you will. Well, in a way, with all these huge waves coming in, and there's little ones too, but we're getting some rogue waves that are pretty big, and we're being told from our brothers up yonder that these waves are just the precursor. There's some really big ones coming through, and that we're just really going to have to hold on to our hats. Now, so far, most of us, a lot of us, have been feeling these waves. So you have to scratch your head if you don't believe in the alien thing and go, well, is this a bunch of hooey? Or, well, maybe then that's sort of proof that what a lot of us have been saying for a long time now, about that we're getting help, in a lot of different ways. And so from angel beings and from ETs and our ISB families, and so my daily message is that I have to try to help folks to understand in the simplest way possible that it is simple. We can go straight to it and directly, meaning the source of all energy and of creator. And the ISBs, they're fighting for our freedom big time. Oh my goodness, are they fighting for our freedom here? And they say that the old energy grid, which was keeping us prisoner here, is now down, and the new energy grid is up to keep any pirates or anybody of a lower vibration than those of us on Earth, and they cannot get to the Earth now. Now, I had this little tap on the shoulder earlier today, and I was like, well, now how in the hell will any of us, how can I believe that there's an energy grid up there? And I was like, well, I believe because of all these other things and years of proof. But anyway, then it was like, but tap, Dave, you already have proof. And this is what it is. They just sent up yesterday or today another SpaceX type satellite. Now, they've been telling us for a long time that they're putting up these little small type satellites, and they send them up in a cluster, and then they just all break loose and they all go to their place up there. Well, they've been telling us that for a long time. And now I scratched my head at that and I went, oh, holy crap. Now, some of us have thought, well, those are spy satellites. What if, seriously, all those little ball satellites, and they give some kind of name or whatever it is for it, but what if they finally got the last satellite up there they needed to complete the grid? That makes perfect sense. That's what all these dead gum little satellite balls are for. Because I've been scratching my head going, what are they what are they doing with these things? Tap on the shoulder says, that might be the grid, Dave. Consider that information that NASA and SpaceX and the Russians, other folks are shooting up rockets too. So I think that part of it is, as a planet, and some folks are going to, oh, he spoke about Trump, but you got to take this into consideration. Same thing about Putin. I've known things about Putin for the last 6 or 7 years that I've seen, known, and come in their space stuff and this and that and what they're doing, and they come right out and tell the public. Putin has open conversations about aliens and stuff in Russia. He does. And folks over here, that good thing we don't speak Russian, because then we could hear what goes on. And I've watched Russian television. He'll do a 2-hour interview, and people from the audience ask him stuff, and he answers. And so, yeah, I like Putin too. So he's in on this. When he changed Russia and allowed the patriarch Kirill to come out like the Pope over the church, the Orthodox Church, which, by the way, was the original church before the Roman Catholics swiped it. So if you want a Christian church, the Greek Orthodox, as we call it here in the United States, are Orthodox, but Russia has become Christian. They're probably more closely knit type Christians in Russia now than here in the United States, because Christians are wanting to beat up Christians. At least over there, they all agree, and they're not forced about it. But Putin has allowed it. So people are like, oh, he's a warmonger. He's all this other kind of stuff. Well, he's got deep state World War II people still left in the Kremlin and over there in politics, just like we got the Bushes and all these other idiots over here. And he faces just as much problems as our President Trump does. But the other thing is that him and Trump, years ago, before as he was running for president, there was a little bit of sneakiness going on. And I think they just agreed, look, if I become president, I want to stop nuclear war. I want us to stop this. Is that all right with you, Vlad? Is that all right with you? Because that's what I want. I don't want to blow you up. I don't want a war. What do you think about that, Vlad? Putin goes, oh, yes, me too, Trump. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I hope you become president. Yeah. You want me to shoot Hillary? No, sir. No, sir. We won't do that. Oh, okay, bye, Mr. Trump. I think they had that conversation. That's just my theory. That's just my thought. But there are too many things that are correlating along with this. Putin said a year ago that if the United States wouldn't go ahead and start doing disclosure, that Putin was going to do it for us. What did Donald Trump do this last week or so? Announce the Space Force. That's part of the disclosure. I've spoke about this before. Donald Trump has recently really started talking about his uncle and how his uncle was a professor for 40 some years at MIT. Really smart engineer, blah, 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 professor, 40 some years. Okay. Who also knew Nikola Tesla, and who, when Tesla died, was in charge of gathering up all of the Tesla information. There's so much more in this ball game. Now, in the meantime, with all this stuff going on this, actually, you're right, Marie. He did fulfill it. He did. You've got it right. There are other people that don't get that, because that third one talked about the bear, and the bear was Russia. and that if Russia didn't change. But the thing is, the United States we're worse than Russia was. Absolutely. I mean, there was an interview today on Lionel Nation, and I can't, Peter Levenda, I can't remember. Anyway, he does crosstalk on RT, and they split it up into two different interviews. But oh my gosh, this guy lives over there. And he's like, all these people, they were Russian before the USSR came, and now that, it's like the Crimea. People over here are like bitching, oh, the Crimea, oh, they need to part from Russia. They've been a part of Russia for centuries. They were Russian before they were anything else. Odd thing states on the land, he will be letting other people use the area to launch them, followed by rich people. They love rockets. Yeah, but you know what, though? Something else, though, and the Russians are so far ahead of us because, yes, it's sort of a totalitarian type of state, but at the same time, as this interviewer from RT, he said, I went down and got eye drops after having free LASIK surgery, which is even better than American surgeries, for free. And he said the whole thing cost me $1.50. That was for the eye drops. And he said I was healed in a week, had the other eye done, never had any problem, never had any pain. And he said it cost me $1.50 to have both eyes surgically fixed. And that was for the eye drops. And he said the medicine over there, it goes to cure the pain or fix the problem, not mask it. And that the entire Russian people, and one of the things that the government is like, which, to us Americans over here are like, well, what are you doing? But they're like, you're not going to addict our people. You're going to fix our people. This is going to, and you're going to do it at a cost that anyone can afford. And so they make it strict policy. So, the capitalists over here are going, well, what about the free market? Well, yeah, but you're putting crap in there that are addicting people. They say none of that right from the start, and we mean it. And by God, the Russian people are doing better than they ever have. They're like, whoa. Now, are they rich like Americans and all that because the ruble has been devalued? That's not the point. They're healthier. They don't have to worry about certain things. I mean, $135 a month is taken out of my salary, whether I go to a doctor or do anything or not. I only make $1,000 a month as it is. And, I can't go to a dentist. They want $350. I thought, oh my God, Medicare doesn't cover dental. I think it's, I don't want to say his name because I'm not sure. But anyway, the RT gentleman, and I'm from Crosstalk. He's like, I had my teeth redone. He goes, well, it took 10 months, but he said he said the only thing that cost me was I wanted better teeth than their standard free teeth and ordered mine from France. But that's because I wanted them. And he said that was a personal thing, but he said it still only cost me a couple of $100 for a complete set of teeth, having all the dental, all the everything. And so Lionel asked him, he said, well, what did an x-ray cost? And he goes, $1.50. And Lionel said, you mean $150? That's $1.50 here in the United States. And he said, no, $1.50 for an x-ray at the dentist. Holy mackerel. So free market is fine, but the people who are doing the free market have the wrong intent. That's wrong. Now, should somebody step in? Well, look how many pharmacies are getting everybody hooked. I mean, I'm finally coming off of my opioids after all these years. I have finally gotten rid of all the drugs I took for 25 years for mental health, for epilepsy, for all these things. All these things have been in my body, and I was taking them 3, 4, 5 times a day, like clockwork, every day, because they're supposed to be helping me. So these folks now over there, complain if you want. Now there's free market as long as you follow the golden rule. You're going to try to heal people. You're going to try to, and so it's a free market there. But at the same time, it's not a free market in being able to rip people off. That ticks them off. And Putin don't like that shit, along with the rest of them. And he has a parliament. So he might have a final say, but there is a parliament that votes on this and that and blah, blah, blah. So where we think that the Russians are a bunch of commies, they're far from it. They are a republic. We're being touted as a democracy, which is wrong. We are a republic. Trump is trying to get us back to being a republic. So the energy that's being played and stressed and done over there, if people understand that what's going on behind the scenes, you can all calm down, because that's that's the messages these folks are trying to tell me. That, you know, that we all know mainstream media, blah, blah, blah. But to the point, though, that we hear it, we see it, even though we may not engage in it. And so we're getting, instead of getting with hand grenades, we're getting hit by BBs or paintball gun or something, you know, a low velocity, but it's still hitting us. Might not leave a bruise, but it's still hitting us. All right. So we're always under some kind of bombardment of some sort of negative type things all around us. So, and some of the things that Mother Mary wanted me to touch on, and they all relate basically to fear. Fear being probably the worst, you know, negative energy around. Because you can't hate something unless you fear it. Hey there, Brian. I was so wound up and I was getting kicked in the shins that I needed to talk about this fear and guilt and shame. Because I know myself, after having been pedoed by priests and the other nefarious things in my lifetime that I've described in other videos and won't go into now. Not that I'm afraid to or whatever, it's just not necessary. But the thing is that with all of these things, I'm in retuning my brain, in relearning all the things that had been smashed, bashed, chewed up by chemicals and negative energies. As I started repairing, I was doing research into the brain itself. Like, where does this happen? Left side, right side. And one of the things that really got me was as a scientist and an observer and an engineer, you look at a machine and if something happens, you log it. What time, what day, blah, 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 you log it. What was the thing? You log it. All right. Well, as my seizures increased and things happened, I was able to keep a better log. Versus me going to work and something anyway. But by being at home, I could keep a better log. As I watched what the log showed over about a 3-month period and my behavior, I was noticed then that about 4:15 every day, you could set your clock to 4:15 and I would have some type of issue. And I went back through the journal and went, what the holy mess is this? Wait a minute. That was at 4:20. That was at 4:10. That was at 4:17, 4:20. You know, it was all right in a 15 or 20 minute period from 4 to 4:30, but really around 4:15. It was really, and the reason I say that is because after I quit my engineer job, I had a part-time job as the director of the local theater group. I took care of the house. I built the sets. I set the lights. I did anything and everything, the sound. I worked with the equipment. I worked with the actors. Sometimes I was in a play. Sometimes I wasn't. Sometimes I directed. Sometimes I was just the light, sound, and general manager of the entire theater building. So, but every afternoon at about 4:30 was about my time to go into town to get things ready for when they had rehearsal at 7:00 in the evening, right? So, but then why the pattern started, I don't know. I mean, something happened, but as I looked through the journal, there were other times that were also similar. Maybe not every day, but frequently enough at the same time, within 5 minutes, one way or the other, that these issues, my seizures, my lack of consciousness was occurring. So now that really puzzled me. I mean, you talk about something like, wait a minute, you're talking about every day at 4:10. And I like, oh crap, it's 4:10, time to have a seizure. Well, heck no. I don't like having seizures. I don't like drooling and losing consciousness. No. Hang on. But until I became aware of it, there was nothing I could do. I was at the mercy of it. The more I studied about subconscious and learning and this and that, and I realized that at some point, I got worried about going into town because I was driving by myself. So I would worry a little bit ahead of time. I hope I feel okay to make it into town and I have a good day. But I tossed about that much doubt in there with it. I'm going to have a good day, but there's a little bit of doubt. And so about the time I was getting ready would be between 3:30 and 4:15 to go into town. So then as I backtracked through what I noticed in my log, I went, oh shit, I created my own problem. Oh no. So I started worrying about, am I going to be okay to make it to town? Can I drive all right? La, la, la. So then that got stuck in my subconscious, whether I was really worried about it or not, there was always there. I hope I'm okay to drive today, blah, blah. And so, but then I was implanting the doubt. Will I be able to? Rather than, sure, you're fine. Let's go. Everything was like, oh, good night, Pamela. I gave an extremely strong spirit, Mr. No. Thank you, I think. Apologies for you find me fascinating. I find everyone fascinating. Thank you, Pamela, if you've already gone. Love to you, greetings and blessings, really, from my heart. Oh, you're not going anywhere. Oh, you mean like good night, hello. Well, greetings, blessings. Howdy do. Okay. Yes, silly. So, but I want to try to stay on this so I don't go wagging off somewhere to make sure I make my point. But what I learned in this journal, the journey, the looking, and I had to really be critical with myself, like, oh, no, you're making this shit up, Dave. No. And so when I took myself into like a meditative state and said, all right, okay, guardian angel, help me figure where this is coming from. I mean, where's this at? Am I dreaming this up? Am I creating this situation myself? If I know consciously that having a seizure is the last thing on a long list of stuff I would like to do, so then how come it's happening? So then that I subconsciously programmed my own brain to be triggered at a certain time every day. Saturday, Sunday didn't matter because I would go into the theater on weekends too, but not necessarily at the same time. But it was more important Monday through Friday or Saturday, and especially when a show was going on. So when I stopped and saw that and went, oh, well, I was thinking that somebody else could program me. Okay, it's MK Ultra and it's all that. No one showed me on a piece of paper that said that David Null would program himself to have seizures at a certain time every damn day. I'm like, no. Wait, huh? Wait a minute. This can't be happening. But it did. And I proved it to myself by writing it down in the journal. And then being critical enough to critique myself as a director or an actor, you have to be able to look at your actors and go, look, remember when you walked down center, you need to back up a little bit. You walked out of your light or whatever the thing is. And as an actor, you're supposed to not take that personally. You're supposed to take the direction from your director as a critique to improve what you are doing. So, and some people have a lot of problem with taking any kind of criticism as a critique. So, but, and so in my journey, I have learned how to critique people without ticking them off and pushing their buttons. That takes some getting used to, but that's a natural power of using positive phrases, which I try so hard to do. If you notice, I stay away from the don'ts and the nots and the da-da-da and try to rephrase it on the fly. That's why I have these little weird looks and a pause. I'm looking for a way to say something positive or say it in a different way without using don't or not or can't. So anyway, so back to the programming. So when I saw these facts, then as I was diving into what the subconscious could and would do, and I was noticing it every day, but I wasn't paying attention to what was happening. Somehow there was a disconnect. So, but once I connected and said, hang on, we created this situation. So then I got into a state of basically self-hypnosis. I'm basically going to meditate. I used a candle, quiet room, and I just meditated on whatever time that's in my subconscious is no longer tied to a seizure. I mean, that's kind of ballpark. So I was in my meditative self-hypnosis state. I was using a mantra. You will forget those times. Those times are a figment of your imagination. It's all in your head. Now, I still have seizures. Not near like I had, but I still had seizures, but they were a different issue. They were much more random. And as I took away that fear, well, am I going to be okay? And just accepted everything's going to be fine. You took your meds, you had your lunch, you did your this, you had your juice, you're going to be fine. What are you worrying about? Because when they did sneak up on me, they pissed me off. They put me down on the floor and knocked me out. So, but I had to realize that it was me that was triggering them at the same time every day. Now, I was able to almost immediately gain control of that situation. Now, simply by recognizing it, that it was there, which is that right there is so powerful. You know, oh my God, I see it. Oh man. You know, it's like, don't call yourself a dummy, you know, stay in the positive. You know, okay, I didn't understand that my brain had recorded all this and it was replaying it at its will. Now, I also noticed that, you know, that I might not get triggered at all. But there were other things too. Oh, I was like checking the weather or something, and there were flashing lights in the commercials I was watching, which still trigger me. If it goes flash, flash for the fourth time, if I don't have my eyes closed or my head down, it will trigger something. And probably always will on me anyway. But I realized there were other things associated with just the time of day. It was the fact that I would check the weather or whatever it was, but I was getting flashes. And so then I said, you know, I'm going to check whatever it is I'm doing earlier or when I get home. Now, if it's immediately necessary, I will I'll just check the weather and turn the thing off. You know, I'll be there and gone. rather than linger and let it stay on and walk around the house and the commercials do their thing. And then all of a sudden at 10 minutes after 4, I'm passed out on the floor and I'm supposed to be leaving in 10 minutes. So when I looked back through what was there, why is all this important about the guilt and shame and everything? It's because I'm using my epilepsy and my personal thing in this about how we are learning by our own actions and by our own worry and by our own subconscious. It's our worst damned enemy. Now, yeah, we get outside inputs and things, which, not helping, you know what I mean? But the other side of the coin is, though, if you will do a little self-analysis and just stop and go, oh, holy crap, especially if it's something that is frequently reoccurring, whether it's like me and constant seizures on a daily basis, several times a day, whatever the situation is. Now, I was able to nip it in the bud. Now, it took a while. It took a while for me to get away from the same time. But basically, it was more of, David, you did this to yourself. I was blaming outside sources. Blame game, shame game, guilt. My guilt was, what am I doing to cause this? Because in the back of my head, in my subconscious, I knew I was guilty. So I was shaming myself because there was something I should catch. There's something in my behavior I must be doing wrong, even though it really wasn't. It's just that it had gotten implanted too many times over time, and it expected it. It's almost like a battered wife. They go away, but then they got to come back because there's something about getting beat that just, it's wrong, but it's right, but it's wrong, but it's there. Whatever it is, it's there. And each one of us has got our own little whatever it is in your brain. You can argue against that point with me all you want to, but it's your subconscious. And your subconscious, guess what? It's sub. And until you try to start bridging the gap between the two, because that's how I was trying to repair my brain, was to get into my subconscious and start bridging these neurons back together. I would meditate on seeing the frayed ends coming together. Little Bob the Builder sets inside my brain, with whatever they needed, little rivet guns or plier, whatever it was. They're in there working, doing their thing. And being visual in some way also helps healing. So I'm doing these things, but as I'm doing them in this entire process, I started really understanding how much this subconscious has to do with our everyday stuff. Do you think about how your heart pumping right now? No, subconscious. There's so much of our system that's in the subconscious. You use Legos. I had that thought, but I don't really like Legos, and I couldn't think of Bob the Builder, but Legos was like, it really was. Thank you, Pamela. See, more synchronicity. But how much positive energy when things like this, when you go, oh crap, he was thinking the same thing. I'm on the other side of the planet or whatever. So, but to this point though, I started asking in my meditations, self-hypnosis, not really, because I tried my best to stay away from any kind of mantra, unless I was like targeting something like, why do you have a fear of spiders? Well, because, all right, well, a lot of people have fear of spiders, but I mean, like, I wish to conquer all my fears, and there are spiders nearby me that a few years ago, I would have been bug spray and fly swatter and kill. And right now I understand that, no, spiders are for another topic, by the way. Ooh, there's some strange stuff going on there, my friends. Whoa, the spiders are all across this planet. Unbelievable. Anyway, and they vibrate in frequencies. Woo-hoo. You know what? That would be a good one. There are some spiders that make their web vibrate, and they will pick up the slightest vibration. I wonder if the Schumann Residence would have anything to do with a spider's web? Just a thought. But so going back to the subconscious, our subconscious remembers like hidden RAM in a computer. What's happened since our childhood, our birth? Before birth, our subconscious has still some angel stuff in it. And why is this important to this conversation? Because we're all trying to be better human beings. We're all trying to find our true spirit and how to help keep out the rest and bring peace and harmony. Okay, that's all wonderful and beautiful intent. And there you go. There's creator. There is the source, pure energy. So, but in order to understand how deep some of the things that we react to, some of the things that we're afraid of on a level that's only in our subconscious. And it may be some weird thing like sliding on mud when you were a kid and falling down. I mean, it can really be some of the most weirdest things. And for example, I remember as a child up in Ohio before we moved to Florida that we were doing swimming lessons in a pool. And I breathed in and sucked up a lung full of water. And rather than pulling me out and sitting down and them saying, it's okay, it's just water, they threw my ass back in and said, swim. Well, I was already choking, already had a mouthful and a half a lung full of water, but they throw me back in. Wait a minute. Now that scared me, because I didn't know how to deal with the water because I couldn't breathe. So as a young child, by the age of 6, I had this fear of water and being in drowning. Well, I don't have it anymore, but that's not the issue. The issue was for a long time because of that initial gulp of water and then being just put back in with all the rest of the kids. We all had a little waitery thing, but that's not the point. The point is that started something in my subconscious that I carried for a good 15 years. And then I just realized, but still, there is that little boy fear factor drowning thing in there, because I realized it during the drowning incident on the river a few years ago. But see, I came out of that one was like, wait a minute, you can't drown me. I won't let you. But it's in there. You don't know it. You don't remember it. Something happened when you were kids playing in the backyard in the neighborhood. Whatever it is, there are things in your brain you're really not aware of. Fears that are always there. They're always running because your heart's always working, because all the blood's pumping, all that. The rest of it's working too. It's the silent RAM. It's the silent memory. It only has to relate to the rest of the brain when necessary. Okay, I'm going to run now. Oh, the subconscious brain puts part of the blood pumping into the conscious brain. So now the two are actually sharing. We're running, increased heart rate, breathing more oxygen. So now the runner's high is the fact that the conscious and the subconscious have joined. So they get this runner's high. Whereas before, everything they were doing was still being run from the unconscious portion of their brain. Even though they were consciously running, the running high doesn't come until the two of those join. And that's the conscious subconscious runner's high. Several friends of mine who run and do that and get off, and I got a bad leg from high school, and too much running puts too much pressure on the joint, and I'm a no-go. So, but to the point where I understand it now, I like to do the kayak and row down here in the South where there's not much rapids, or like this time of year when some of the rivers are barely flowing. You can just long stretch and you can just meditate on the stroke, not necessarily fast, but stroke. So you get into that breathing and the thing, and that I have gotten off on that versus runner's high, but from using the same technique. It's also saved my life when I was freezing to death, when I almost drowned on the river that time in the cold. And because I had stage 2 going on stage 3 hypothermia. And so, but the lesson is that even that you have the energy to repair yourself, like a cut on your hand. So in our brains, in our subconscious, we carry, some of us much more than others. And it might be something that happened to us as a child, whatever it is. It could have been the next door neighbor being me, pick it, okay? But that it had an effect on us, either positive or negative. Now, at this particular juncture, I'm speaking of the negative things that are carried through. Happy memories pop up, boom. The negative things, they must be triggered. So in this discussion, being pedophiled by the priest, I mean, it was in my conscious mind for a long time until I had to push it into the subconscious. And I refused to forgive them for what they did. I refused to. I don't know if I'm supposed to forgive the Catholic Church, because that's an entity versus a person. So I still have a hell of a lot of animosity towards the Vatican and the Catholic Church. And the amount of money they've spent on their stuff and oh my God. And for those of us who have suffered so much trauma and energy loss and suicides and medicines and therapy to try to get over their bullshit that they did to us. But that's the church. I have forgiven the individuals. I have. Because it's just like, man, you sick puppies. But I also have to keep in my mind that deep in my mind, there is a part of me that wants to knife these bastards. Be quite honest, for what they did. And also finding out that these same people did similar things to very close friends of mine that I consider family. I would rather go knifing these people for what they did, because I've been able to overcome and handle what they did to me. But that's why my friend has been acting like that all these years. That's why oh my God, look what you did to my friend. I'm more pissed at that than I am about myself. And it's harder for me to forgive these same people for what they've done to my friends. I wanted to pay for them rather than for me. But my point to that is, though, that, yeah, that was a very traumatic thing. And sure, it's still in there. No matter how much purging I'm going to have to do to my brain, I've come to the realization, though, that when I forgave myself for the shame that I gave myself, when I forgave myself for the fear which I gave myself because of the incidents, when I forgave myself for those things, I had to forgive myself for being guilty all these years. Guilty of what? Guilty of being shameful. Guilty of being afraid for the things they did to me 40, 50 years ago. Okay, but yeah, 50 years, holy crap. Wow. But to that point, though, there was no way I could find it in any of my spirit, heart, or whatever to forgive these people, whether consciously or unconsciously, until I did the self-work. And I had to go in and go, oh, the reason you have felt this way is not because of what they did to you, per se, but because you have felt guilt because you allowed it to happen. And somehow maybe you feel like at that point somewhere in there, you should have somehow stopped it, done something, and you didn't. So that's where guilt, shame comes in. And now this is my own story. This is my own thing. But everybody's got a story. It might not be the severe. It might be something simple. But everybody's got a story. Everybody's got stuff stored back here, over here, in that subconscious part of the brain. And that at the weirdest times, it will help you or make you feel better, worse, or something. And for those of us who suffered with depression and drug addiction and all these other things, we're more susceptible than those other folk. Not that they aren't, but because we already show these signs of these susceptibilities, then, all right, don't eat a pound of sugar if you have the propensity to be diabetic. Not that you will be, but you should watch rather than, who gives a crap. So, but with that, so realization, understanding there is something wrong, understanding that it's all right to criticize yourself, but not in a demeaning way. Because I first started out cussing myself. You some bitch, what the, look in the mirror, cuss myself. And then at some point, it was almost like there was a figure that showed up behind me in the mirror. I mean, I could see in the mirror behind me. That was like, put their hand on my shoulder and I heard the words, "That's enough, Dave." But that's enough, Dave. So I kept perpetuating my own emotional conflict concerning this particular issue. Now, I've had other issues, and I have followed similar types of rehashing, going through something. What did I do wrong? Where did the energy come from? How come I get triggered? And oh my God, the amount of wasted flipping energy. I could have went to the moon and back a dozen times with the amount of energy that I personally have wasted over dumb shit, worrying, shameful, guilt, whatever. Oh, I felt guilty about, this friend of mine. I didn't call him back. Oh, I held this guilt for 5 or 6 years, and and then finally when I let it out, I was like, well, that was really freaking stupid. I created my own hell, but I felt so badly for what I had done in my person, because my person said, Dave, that was wrong. You should apologize. You should have. And I did try way back then. That's not the point. The point was I carried it forward down that damn, row of cotton pickers, and I'm dragging all these emotions, all the guilt, all the fear of whatever. Is this going to make me so damned depressed that I'm going to want to kill myself again? I mean, so all of these things, and I just kept perpetuating it. Now, the drugs and the brain trauma had a lot to do with some of this. However, as soon as I stopped and did this, hang on, I have to be so completely neutral in this, where I kind of thought I had gotten there. Nah, I had to become a rock, a stone, a living, breathing rock and stone, impervious to bad blows from any of the negative crap in my subconscious. And I had to grow a set of huevos cojones in order to stand up and be a damn man and admit that I actually perpetuated this guilt, or I must admit that I, over the years, have wallowed in my own shame when no one else, provoked me or whatever, and that it is within my power to stop these things. It is within my jurisdiction of a personal sovereign being to stop the crap that was implanted 50 years ago. Now, other things have happened, but I'm using one particular subject for this particular analogy. Now, I don't mean to harp on the pedophilia thing, but there were also sub-degrees in there. Sexual this, are you gay, are you not? How come guys want to plug your butt every time you see somebody, and how come you can't get a date with a woman, but all the guys love you, Dave. Wait a minute, hold it. That's a whole nother part of so, but with that said, though, all these things had to be dealt with. They were all tied together to all of these similar things 50 years ago. And so it was myself who allowed myself to drag the negative. Oh, I took care of this. No, you didn't. Yeah, I did. No, you didn't, because it's still back here. And I didn't deal with back there. I dealt with up here. I also found out through this journey of where's this crap coming from, was that there was still a part of me that was really pissed at them sons of bitches for what they did. Oh, I forgive you. No, you don't. Now I have to draw. And I just said it a few minutes ago, my animosities towards the church and the Vatican versus the individual priest. I'm really pissed at the Vatican, and I can be, because they aren't a single person. The Vatican doesn't require forgiveness because it's an organization. So when that part was showed to me, you can still be pissed off, but not at them. Be pissed off all you want to at the church. They need to come down. They need to pay. They need to, but you must forgive these 4 human beings because they're human beings. Church, separate. So when in my conscious brain, I could understand it, I could then have a chat through meditation, self-hypnosis, to have a chat with them folks back yonder in behind the veil, my veil, and say, you clowns, cut that out. Seriously now, enough is enough. But they're standing back there. I'm being visual with this. But they're standing back there. Yeah, but we've had so much fun with your ass. Every time you get so mad and you get pissed off, and then you want to hate, and then you want to. Oh, we've had a ball with you for years, Mr. Dave. And I had to say, cut it out, guys. Whoever you are, whatever the thought process is, if I visualize things in beings or characters, fine. You guys leave the stage. Bye. And stay gone. Now, there are things that still trigger, but in the last year of really understanding this, for the last 2 years, I've been on the right track. But this last year, this summer, I really got it. I mean, I forgave and I really got it, because I was now able to differentiate the human from an organization. I hate the Nazis, but okay, General Goering or something I can forgive. You get the idea. Doesn't make either of them right or wrong. That's not the point. Because in forgiving them, we must all find forgiveness in ourselves. Otherwise, the forgiveness that we have spoken of the other is a false, because we have not forgiven ourselves. So they got to go hand in hand. So I realized that I was 99% of the way there, but that 1% was holding back the whole shebang. The whole shebang. That 1%. I believe, and I really think. No, you're not. And I had to do that extra digging in the subconscious. Wait a minute now. But you said you forgave, and you really do mean it, and I did, and I have, and I still do. But there was still that animosity, but that was towards the church. So each person has their own things. Now, there might be folks out there that have just led a perfect life and have had no strife, or no one's left them for another woman or man or whatever, or taking everything you had. And when you get home from, a camping trip, your house is empty. I've had that happen. Lovely ex-wife, go off to do a puppet show and come home and there was nothing in my house. I had a house. So, and yeah, I had to forgive her too, you know? And so it's like, well, wait a minute, what did I do to deserve that? I gave her money. I gave her everything she wanted. She didn't have to work. She had all these things. And but she was just greedy, and had another point of view. That was her problem, not mine. So I kept trying to, she must have left. She took all the stuff because it must have been my fault. It's always been my fault. Always through my life. It must have been my fault. They left you. They left you. Your mother put you up for adoption. They left you. Yeah, but my mother put me up for adoption. I found out later on because of the crappy situation we were in. And it was either adopt me or I was going to die of frostbite and starvation in the cold in the winter. Oh, well, that makes a difference, you know? I mean, but when you don't know those things, but when you do, you're able to rationalize and go in and do the interior work that needs to be done. So each of us is guilty of something. I don't know what, and I'm not saying. I'm not trying to say you need to admit to me or anybody else, but we all feel guilty about something in our past. And have you truly, don't just off the cuff, oh yeah, I don't blame. No. Did you go in and have a conversation with your subconscious? Seriously? Because that's where your spirit lies. It's the combination of both. So if something in your subconscious still has an issue, the idea of you being able to tune your radio dial to the correct frequency necessary, you're going to hit a bump. You won't know what it is. You'll think you're there, like I thought and then all of a sudden there's a whole nother world that opens up because you thought you had it, but then when that 1% more comes out, there's whole nother world that opens up beyond that point, which is just like, holy crap. I could not have imagined it and didn't. As much as I tried to, I could understand that it was going to be cool and it was going to be interesting, but the actual feeling itself of the honest to goodness full release, not just you think you forgave him. Are you sure? Yeah. Well, the church still pissed me off, but you know what I'm saying? So yes, it's a complicated issue. And I'm not saying everybody's been pedophile or whatever, but each of us has whatever trauma, whatever it might be. And it might just simply be a personal trauma, like my own issues of having a seizure, have whatever. We create our own hell. And the fact that we just say, well, I'm going to forget about it. This is the Mother Mary message. She's saying to many, not necessarily you right now, but you out there have things that are hidden you thought that you had dealt with. And that because of these new awakenings, these things need to be resolved on an even deeper level. And it might just be that, something happened and you have a couple of drinks when that thought comes by and it goes away. Not necessarily that you're an alcoholic or you're drowning your things, but there is that thought, something, and it might be something you had no control over. I mean, that's not the point. But if it might be that you saw something that you wished you had acted upon, but couldn't because you were going somewhere or something, and maybe you felt guilty about, I should have stopped and went over and helped that person, or whatever. That guilt and shame and this other can come in many, many forms. But because of our brains are so good, there's a place back there for all those memories. You're just not aware of it. Some of them come out more than other folks. But trust me, my friends, they're there. Because we are human and because of our brains. I mean, it just is, okay? So for many folks who are having problems with depression and all of these things, you can fix yourself. You can get rid of these things. But certain realizations, like what I've just had in this conversation, the realization that there are things in your brain that you're not aware of. And if you go looking for them, it will help you resolve many things, and many things that maybe you simply weren't aware of. Why am I depressed today? There could be a trigger. That could have been something that happened. It's like, for example, I didn't realize that there was a period in the middle of January around the 24th, 5th, 6th in there. Every year I'm like, what is this? Then I found out that was when I was adopted. Oh. So trauma-based when I was 3.5. Why is every year on the 25th, 6th just really crummy for me, having never connected that with anything until I got my birth certificate records of my adoption. And then I looked at January and I went, oh, shit. No wonder every year at that time, there's just something in there. It was hardwired into me, for 63 years, for God's sakes. And so when January comes around, I look at it and go, not this year. Because now I am aware of, with my conscious memory, if my subconscious wants to just simply do a replay, not necessarily be nasty to me, but because it's that time of the year, it's 4:10 in the afternoon, time for a seizure. These things are in our heads, man. And it doesn't have to be implanted by some off-world being or a demon or something. It's our own frickin' fault for just because we're human. So, but see, we have to forgive ourselves for that too. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware that this was being recorded without my permission. That's where I went with it. You recorded these seizures without my permission? Huh? I mean, I know that's silly, but I have to look at it in like these different points of view, because that's the way my fractured brain works. But at the same time, though, if I can picture it in, whether it be Lego bots or Mr. Bob or Bob the Builder or some ugly little mensch in the woods with a mud hut or something, it doesn't matter. But the realization of all of the above, and the realization that yes, it is happening. You may not be aware of it. You may not be aware that, that every year it's such and such and blah, blah, blah. Or why do you get depressed a certain thing at Christmas time? Or why do certain Christmas songs make you just weep? They do me. And I'm like, I just understand it's there. I understand it goes way back to childhood. It's a good weeping, but at the same time, it's still crying. So, and it's affecting me. And it's my subconscious, not my brain. So when I see these things coming, maybe it's a wave, maybe it's the bottom end, maybe it's something my subconscious has recorded without my damn permission and wants to replay it when it thinks it's time. Because the subconscious always knows what time it is. It always knows what day, year, blah, blah, blah. So when it comes time, it's just like a day planner going, well, okay, it's, June 21st, time for the, off you go. Does this happen every time to everyone? If you're aware of it, though, and at certain dates and times, and if you do the homework like I had to do, because I had to figure this out, it was killing me, literally, drooling out, So, but as I did, and this awareness came, so also did other negative isms fall off. And as the negative just kind of, wow, I didn't even know I was carrying that, because it was attached somehow with the guilt and the shame and of other things. Oh, well, the negative part of that just fell off. Oh, and I just seriously, literally feel lighter, even though I haven't lost any weight, but I am maintaining 173 pounds for a 66-year-old with about 130 over 80 is my blood pressure, roughly. And no problems with diabetes. So, and I've come a long way from where I was taking all these meds to nothing. I'm being able to connect my brain neurons together again. I'm being able to understand conscious, subconscious, and actually reach the two. And so what's been happening here lately to me personally with these energies coming in, are that, and we were told this would happen. I didn't quite understand how or whatever, but I get it. And that more of our subconscious would become conscious. And that as I've studied meditation, if you listen to your heartbeat, you can slow it down, just like the Buddhas and the Hindus do. And in their meditation, slow their heartbeat almost to nothing and still live and breathe and maintain. I've done that. That's how I've survived some of these really traumatic things and being in the wilderness and such. So I've practiced these things to see if they work, to see if it's true. Oh, yeah. Now I still need practice to become better at it, but that's not the point. The point is we all have the information when we can go into our subconscious and lift these things. Some people say, well, would you recommend going to a hypnotherapist? No. I would say do your own hypnosis, and you can. It's really simple to do. And, if you go into an automatic writing like I did with some of these things I've discussed the last couple of days, get your pad of paper and a thing, get comfortable so that you can scribble and write down whatever is there. And because the answers will come through you and to you from Mother Mary, through angel messages, through your own self-conscious, from your own subconscious. So all of these things can be answered, fixed, and remedied. It's all there. It really is. Now you wade through the mist and you pull back the curtains, and you have to forget so much of what you've been taught because the subconscious has learned so much, whether you wish to agree with it or not. Oh, I forgot. No, you didn't. If you say you forgot about something, that means you didn't forget about it. If somebody comes up and says, do you remember blah, blah, blah? And you sit there with a blank stare on your face for a while and go, no. Chances are you forgot about it. But if you say, oh, no, I don't pay that attention anymore, well, then you haven't forgot about it. I know it's subtle, but it's there. I'm going back up here. Mental persecution, controlled breathing, understandable. I'm sorry. I have to stay on point to make sure I get what's in here to come out. It must be consciously transmuted. Yes. I'm brave for sharing. Thank you. I actually feel like I'm a coward because it took so long, but that's more unforgivable. Once spoken can be repaired. It can serve you in that you can assist so many in the now. Well, that's why I'm popping my head up out of the swamp down here. This is a seraphim healing frequency from the open throat chakra. That is why the seraphim were sent. You are now in alignment. Yes, seraphim. Made absolutely sure you were here for us at this moment. Yes, I'm still in the process of reprogramming myself, Miss Pamela. Wait, where'd that go? Apparently you have gathered most of your fragments well enough to assist humanity. Back on 2010. It's a library. No worries. I love listening. Thank you very much. And in speaking about this, I said a prayer before I went on with Brian on Milky Way. And before I came back on, because it's like while I was in the groove and the energy's here and everything, that this discussion needed to continue to come out, and especially like I'm already wired up and everything, right? So, but that to many people, and I know of a lot of people personally that are hurting and physically, mentally, and mentally they're hurting, which is causing physical pain, and etc. And I literally cry for these folks, not because it's because I can't help. It's like I can't heal you all. I want to just reach out and just not preacher wise be healed. No, but I mean, heal. Take this energy and heal. take this energy and feel it and allow yourself to be healed and to heal, and then I sit and watch some of these damn fools go by, and they are just so intelligent in the brain, and they're a dumbass everywhere else. I don't know how else to put it without being rude and ridiculous, but it's like, I thought you people really understood. And I look at folks and I think, there's still hope for you. And then but here lately, everybody's been going so cray over these frequencies and stuff. They're really acting out of their element. And that scares me. It's one thing to see them in their element and fluctuate, but when they break out of their bounds into another realm of, you watch I don't know, it's like somebody playing football for the last 5 years, and suddenly they say, well, I've never thrown a football in my life. I like hockey. And you go, what? I don't play football. I'm a hockey player. And you go, what? And I know that's a sports analogy, but, I can't think of anything separated. It is so different. One needs ice and yet anyway. But with that said, I've seen those types of things that folks are like sports, but then all of a sudden it's like, this is an analogy, football. Who likes football anymore? It's hockey. I don't. So it's that drastic in their point of view, in their politics, in their in their religiousness. Boy, that's a mouthful. We are in the flow. True. Your frequency is healing. Oh, I understand my frequency is healing. I'm hoping my frequency will heal others. They are in non-alignment. The energy shift has caused many to question their identity. Absolutely. And there are, which brings up another topic I'm supposed to discuss, but I'll tag it here at the end of this video, but at the same time, I'm going to have to do another one having to do with twin flames. And it's like, I've been married several times, had several girlfriends, but I'm not the type of person. Let's see. Being a Libra, I'm a sexual being. Being a male, I'm a sexual being. But never to the point of wanting to cause rape or harm or anything like that to another person. No other person. I've always searched for the love of another. Even if it's a one-night stand, there must be some type of something, not just sex. I can't have just sex. It don't work. I can't do it. I would rather be self-abusive than to just have sex with a person for my own gratification. And no, there must be something else there, or forget it. It's no good. So, and that's been my life. But at the same time, for every person that for every person that I had that feeling with, I thought, I'm a monk also, by the way, but that's where I'm headed with this. I could feel whether it be the mother inside them or something. I found that thing that I could make love with them, and I did. There are times that I realized that they were just having sex with me. I thought I was making love, and found out later, oh crap. Oh, but you're my twin flame, and lie, and then you come home from a camping trip and your house is empty. And that they've been planning this for months, oh, I love you, okay, what kind of a fool was I? And I really was. But to the point where I'm during the rest of this investigation, part of it was, where the hell's my twin flame? Where's my wife? Where is a true mate that wants to sit by the fire with me, who'll go out and cut some firewood or go work in the garden, or we'll go canoeing, or we'll go camping, or we'll sit and write, or we'll play music, or we'll do nothing, or make love all night long, whatever, but my mate. Now, some people are calling it their twin flame and that kind of thing. And I, in my essence, I agree with that. I have been searching for my twin flame. And I had to just give the F up and say, not in this realm. It ain't here. Because the more I looked or just sent out a feeler or something, the worse I got. And so, as part of the fear and the guilt and all, okay, but I had also convinced myself that in order for my life to be perfect and happy in this life, I had to have a mate. And I realized that no, your twin flame is on the other side. And recently, I have met her very plainly, like, oh my God. And reoccurring dreams of the same person I've never met in this timeline. But clearly, like, wake up over here and go, well, where's the picnic lunch? And where's the sunshine? And wait, I gotta go pee. What? That was weird, I mean, so absolutely real, so far away from a dream, it's unbelievable. So when I realized that I was searching for something in this realm on this timeline that simply wasn't here, and that I may have gotten close or maybe whatever, not necessarily 4D, but on a different timeline. Okay. Just a different timeline. And that because these timelines have been frayed, cut, otherwise jacked with, and as they're repairing themselves and coming back whole, we can see, like, two of them close together, the frays might touch. And I'm seeing this timeline as this anyway. But I realized that whether it was actually a parallel timeline of just a different time, different scenario, was the simple realization that, oh crap, I have wasted so much time looking in this realm when she's actually on the next one over. Not necessarily in death per se, but in the next realm, the next lifetime. It's actually parallel. So it is. It's actually parallel. I'm like, yeah, it is. It's actually parallel. Yeah. Not in a future event, but it is a parallel. I'm getting a little download about that. But so when I felt that, it's been a year or more, maybe 2 years. I've lost track how far back I gave up. Now there still is a woman. I just, everybody else I've been able to find the thing that says she doesn't think about you anymore. Whatever mental thought, like, I hope you will, accept any apologies for anything in my life that may have occurred between us. I would hope that you would understand that I still love you, and blah, blah, blah. And so I send prayers out to people that I've been with, mates, lovers, which aren't that many, but to the point, in order to try to straighten my act out so I can continue and I can tune my own frequency. But sincerely wish them well and hope, I forgive you, you forgive, please. Okay. The higher realm thought. But there's one person that it's like, it seems like they're still somehow attached in this life. And she's Native American, has so very, 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 very many things alike. in our philosophies and in powwows, Native American. I mean, if you've got the Native American thing in your head, then you're already a long way where other folks just don't. Not being mean, but it just is. And so somehow this one person is still connected somehow in this realm. Now I know, or at least I feel like she's not the same person in the parallel. So, so there is still an attachment somehow. And I'm like, I really thought that was my true flame in this life. Now, with all the confusion and all the cuts in the time, the fabric of time and everything, what if she's sitting somewhere thinking the same thing? I thought he was it. Because we had a togetherness I've not had with anybody else, because she's Native American, I'm Native American. At least we're not, neither one of us are full bleeds, but we have more than 20%, 30%. We've got enough. Not that we wish to be called that, but internally we have enough. Although it only takes one drop. And so I thought about it, and I was like, well, if you're out there in this quantum, in the spirit realm, you know where I am, you know where I live. And so if there is something, then it must be, I'm sending out an invitation out here. If you wish to contact me, I would be willing to have contact with you, versus stay away, F you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I've sent out a positive to the universe. If then I haven't heard anything. Not that it won't, that's not my point. But in doing that, in trying to settle past issues and, make sure that all those hidden things that might have happened with a girlfriend or a spouse that's dug in deep somewhere. My second wife tried to run me over with the car, stuck out in the middle of the country. And anyway, so yeah, that's still in there. And I guess I've forgiven her. I hadn't thought of it in a long time until like this one moment right here. But so there's little creepy things that are hidden. But at the same point, I'm not scared of cars running me over or anything like that. But the point is that that's an attachment to someone else who's still alive in this plane. Does she regret that she did it to me? And that's why that thought came up. There's some kind of attachment, not necessarily for me, but somebody else might have the attachment of the event, which included me. So now I'm clearing myself, but is somebody else on the other side of what happened? Are they now clearing themselves, which includes me? And because we don't talk or chat, I'm being picked up back into this emotion. Like, well, wait a minute. I thought I had that shit resolved. Come to find out, it's the other person who's resolving their issues, but it has to do with you. So just saying, in the quantum, because two people meet, especially in a very intimate relationship, there is that, oh my God moment when you climax or whatever, and there's no other feeling like it that I have been able to find, especially when it is at the right time, right moment with the right person. I've made you laugh 3 times. Oh, I hope I make you laugh a whole lot more than that. If you're wearing Depends, you might have to change them. I used to make jokes when I was doing puppetry and stuff and little stories, and I got a couple of grandpa puppets, and he would make little remarks about Depends and stuff like that. And folks laughed, and the old people would giggle. And, and afterwards there'd be somebody standing by, and they'd say, so are you wearing Depends? How do you know that you can make jokes like that? You're not old enough to wear Depends. Well, now that I'm old enough to wear Depends, it's like, I can validate the joke now. I don't want it dripping down my leg. What is that? Oh, God, that smells. Was that cheeseburger? Ooh, should have never put that hot sauce on there. Lord have mercy. But so, But deep inside all of our psyches, there's some crazy stuff. And it's really important that let me back up slightly. For those of us who wish you're 3 times older than me, 66. You're 190? I'm 66. And how old are you? I'm 66 in this life. But anyway, for the people who wish to do better, for people who wish to improve their spirit, and I've seen some folks, they turn to Jesus. Oh, thank you, Jesus, for saving my soul is saved. They baptized me again, and I'm thank you, Jesus. And they tote their Bible around. And I think to myself, oh, Jesus, please, will you come down to these folks? Now, it's good that they've come out of a life of crime or something like that. But here's something that I've noticed, though, and I'm going to drop a name, and I don't mean anything by it, but Pastor Paul Begley. He has great influence on a lot of people. He had influence on me. And there was a particular time when I really needed some saving about something, and I turned him on one day, and he read a Bible passage, and it fit. And I said, good man. However, he's really preaching the wrong, because he's preaching about the wrathful God, that anyone should, that we should believe in this wrathful God. Oh, and that Revelations isn't going to be any good unless the temple's built and all these other things. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, but that what if not everything that was written comes true? Let's say it's 80% or 90%. What if it's only 75? Well, I've looked through it, and I can discern we're about 90% there. Okay, so they didn't build the temple, or okay, something. But they're dragging people in who need help with their spirit. And yes, they're looking for answers. And because at some point in their life, because we are mostly a Christian nation, that Christ must be the answer. Now, Christ is, but not the rest of the Bible. Read what Jesus said and toss the rest out. Throw Paul away. He's an ingrate, And people are like, oh, no, you got to listen to Paul. He got struck by lightning and got converted. Yeah, but if you read what Paul wrote, it doesn't match what Jesus wrote. I'm sorry, plain and simple. Priests who left the church refused to preach about Paul, okay? And I mean, these guys learned about it, and they're like, nah, they won't read Paul. But yes, the Bible can be very good as an example. And if you're serious about finding about your spirit and true nature now, because of all these things, just read what Jesus said and did. Leave the rest of it out, because they're being confused by all this stuff, and they're reading passages from Job, and the God in Job is a hateful sumbitch, and he ain't my God, and I won't worship or pray to him. Anybody that says there's a God on a throne and a blah, blah, blah is a God with a lower G. Creator in source is it. There is no God in my world. It's source. It's creator. There is no God. Except for the guy who's been our prison master here on planet Earth. And that's the God of falsity and whatever. Many, 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 many long time ago, there were beings that came to this planet. Man, they just felt they were better than everybody else. I've lit it 3 times and it goes out, which is good, but to the point. The amount of energy that gets swiped off of our prayers by praying to the lowercase God. And for all the people who are like, well, God is my strength. You are your strength. And the God that you think you're praying to is the false one. Oh, crap. So that I just see so many people going, I'm sorry. You're not going to, oh, you make me laugh all the time, darling. Really. I've got lots of little giggles on the side. But I think to myself, how are these folks going to cope? Those folks who have put their faith into this entity who is a hateful SOB, the God of wrath. My gosh, But if you read the Bible, Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Peter, there's somebody else in there too, but I forget. But maybe it's James. But that when they speak about the life of Christ and what he said when he preached on the mount, and those are important things of the Bible because they directly relate to, quote, the Savior. Now, people who have a cross with Jesus on it, actually the cross is a negative also, by the way, but that when we think of Jesus on the cross, when we wear the cross, it means pain, suffering. And even the churches I've been to, remember the blood of Jesus. He is the Lamb of God who sacrificed himself. Are you washed in the blood? Well, I hate that blood reference. Exactly. Yuck. What are you talking about? Pagans don't do that. Wiccans don't do that. Only Satanists and folks bathe themselves in blood. Yuck. So, but when you try to tell a Catholic that, well, wait a minute. I drank wine and ate a piece I had the Eucharist the other day. You just ate a person and drank his blood. How about that mess? No, I didn't. Well, yeah, he did. He said, the priest just said, I'm changing. This is the body of Christ. And holds the little wafer up and says some magic words and then passes it around so y'all can eat him. That's what's happening. I used to be an altar boy. I used to help pass them out. I mean, And so Catholics are going, well, wait a minute. No, they're doing a pagan sacrifice every time they say Mass. And these folks ain't getting it. They're not getting it. You don't change. Christ never said, he said, do this in remembrance of me. He meant have dinner together. Pass a bottle of wine around. Pass the bread and cheese, and maybe there's something else or whatever. But have dinner together. That's family. That's energy. That's sharing. That's, oh my God. I'm mostly a vegetarian. I had my first hot dog today in 3 months. And I was just craving a damn hot dog. Supposedly all beef, but I just wanted a darn hot dog. Ate 2 of them actually, but I just wanted one. But so for these folks, oh, I wish there were an Oscar Mayer wiener. Sorry about that. I grow some of my own food as well, yeah. But Pamela, what part of the States are you in? Give me a general location, please, just for reference. I think I know, but Cali. Ooh, I was wrong. You mean food's growing out there? Brian and Milky Way Weekly, we were discussing just before we went on the air that some East Bay area. I know I was almost there actually, but I know the area. I studied it well. But Brian and we were discussing that he's like, man, my tomatoes won't put tomatoes on. And I'm like, I can't grow a squash down here. I used to be able to grow squash easy. But they'll grow a vine, but they won't put on any kind of any fruit, and other things just simply won't come up. And they're fresh seeds. I mean, my garden will grow everything else, but when you put in these vegetable seeds and you nourish them and grow them, they might come up, but they're not producing. And there's folks all over down here in South Georgia who are like simply gave up on their gardens because they couldn't grow them. Things wouldn't grow. Peas won't grow. And it's like, but why? I'm moving my stuff indoors. You have many, many peaches and berries, eh? My peach trees are dead, but I do have 2 pear trees now. And the berries, I've got maybe 200 strawberry plants that have been growing over the years, and I've got a bigger patch every year. And I've separated, moved them to other areas of the gardens and so forth. And I must have had 50 berries on there maybe a week or so ago. And I go out, feed the chickens, do my feed up, check the garden, check the rain gauge, do my little piddly, and check for strawberries. They're all gone. All of them. There's not a fresh strawberry on any of them. All the plants are healthy. Everything looks good. But what happened to the strawberries? I mean, they were green, and they were starting their thing. And within 2 or 3 days, they should have all been ripe, and I should have had a really nice handful of fresh strawberries. They were all gone, like they never even had a flower on them. No little berries. And there are no bugs in there. I mean, yeah, there's some little bugs here and there, but I mean, not to eat the berries, because I've seen bugs eat the berries, and I've seen they leave holes. There's no signs of this. The berries are simply gone and refuse to grow anymore. Up on the hill, I've got a really big, 2 big area. I live on 18 acres plus. And up on the hill, I've left things grow wild over there and over there. And we've had enough rain this spring. I went up there and checked, and all the blackberries were coming out. And I mean, they were starting to be about the size of your thumb instead of being like this big, maybe. And I've chopped the canes down. I mean, I understand how to do this stuff. I've been studying home gardening and organic gardening since the 1970s. So I'm looking at this and I'm going so just several days later, I go up on the hill thinking, all right, these blackberries will be ready. I'll make me a little blackberry something or other, maybe a little blackberry custard or something, a cobbler. There you go. Or maybe if there's enough blackberries, I'll make me a little bottle of some homemade wine like I love to do every year. They're all gone. It's like there wasn't any berries to begin with. Now, I know we have birds and things, and they eat them and all, but they don't eat all of them. They'll eat this and that. There are berries somewhere on another bush, over here, over there. I went through my patch, and I was like, there wasn't any trace of any berry on any bush. And there's, I don't know, 50 in different places all over the hill. Not one berry on any of them. And they were full a week or so ago. So there are strange things going on. And I will continue to send you photos of what? Of what, Miss Pamela? Would you pronounce your last name Stephanoidis? Did I get that even close? Oh, send you pictures of it just looks like a patch of bushes, on the edge of the woods. I don't actively till them and work them. I mean, I go up there and spread a little fertilizer and a call you in. But the point is, a couple of years ago, before the change in the sun came and we went from yellow to blue, those same areas would put out pints of blackberries without doing anything to them. Same thing with squash. I could drop a squash seed on the ground and it would grow zucchini or whatever. No problem. I wouldn't even have to water the darn things. I mean, I would. I was growing them and leave. I would always leave one fruit, cut it open, let the seeds come up, and because any seed that comes out of the fruit of something that you've grown from a bought seed is probably going to be your best bet for a good crop in future years. Well, even the crazy Doc Miller was talking about the fact that we're going to have to start growing indoors now because of the color change and the fact that so many gardeners all over are having issues with stuff growing, that it has to do a lot with the frequency from the sun and the fact, the chemtrails have been blocking things, but basically it's the wrong frequency for the plants we need to grow. And the Galactics warned us 2 years ago. So I've been slowly working on greenhouses, and being on limited income, I'll go down and once a month I'll buy a shop light. The next month I'll buy bulbs for it. And then the next month I'll buy an extension. Whatever it is that I need to do for my system. At the end of the season, they had some Rain-X type garden watering things on sale. Like, it was $40 on sale for 6, and I bought 2, So now I can electronically control the water going into my greenhouse pots when I get it finished. Yes, the fairy realm. I'm telling you, I know you already said it, so I don't have to explain it to you, but I went out in the garden because I was instructed by my higher self and told that because of the changes and things, I needed to go out. And I mean, I'm respectful to the little folk and things. I know they're there. I mean, I get it. And I've always left things out or, on purpose, like, here y'all go. But I was told that the garden needed extra help now, and that I needed to literally ask for them to help versus just and there was a whole family of fairy type little people that are no longer on my property. I don't know where they went. And I always respected their area. I always knew. I mean, it was like, and within the last 2 years, when I went back to in my backwoods to check things in a house, they're gone. A whole big, almost an acre that I refused to even walk through. I made a pact with them to stay out of their territory, and respected it. And I'm talking for years, 20 some odd years, I wouldn't even walk through their territory. And now they're gone. I don't feel them. They're not there. I don't hear their dancing. I don't hear their singing. I don't see their firelights. They're gone. But now I've gone out into the garden and I've taken crystals and I've burned sage and I've done a Native American type ceremony. And I have asked all elementals to please, if they're here and if they can, would you please help my garden grow? And reverently. And what do you want me to email you? I lost it. It's up there somewhere. So with these changes, we have to adapt. Here, let me go back up here before I wonder if I can do I wonder if this will work. Control C. Hang on there a second. This computer's slow, and I just changed screens, but I'm assuming that the Gmail is loading. Hang in there. I'm trying to cut and paste. Let's see, compose. Come on. All right, Control V. Oh ho, it did it. I'll be done. Wow, that actually said it worked. Okay, it says I sent it. I will send you gifts to bring them back. I need a reading from the realm. Please explain. I just sent you my email. You'll get it in a second. I'm real easy to find in my address and everything. The earth changes here. We've been in such a drought that where normally they would have survived, I think they moved out of necessity because they're, I've heard of Ravenwolf, but I think these fairies moved because the earth had changed. They had to move. There wasn't enough there for them to survive themselves. I mean, we didn't have water for 5 years, where normally it was almost always wet and there were little puddles everywhere and no water. None. We've had more water this month of June than we had all of 7 months last year. And we're about 6.5 inches for this month, which is above normal, but still not in any kind of flood. The river still hasn't flowed, and this is going on 6 years now. So the river hasn't flowed. The little creek that normally runs through my place and kind of around where the fairies lived, where there was water and things, and it's gone. I have been calling them back, but why call them back if there isn't a decent place to live? Do you understand? I mean, there are other things that they require simply other than me asking. They're always welcome here, and they know it, but they have to be able to live, and if their circumstances, it's sort of like the elves in the Lord of the Rings. It's gotten to the point where they had to leave. It was time. And it's like, man, you can be sad all you want to, but you gotta respect it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I see it. Yes, we are creating a new earth right now, and I'm going to be here when everybody else is gone as a repair technician, for whatever that means. But in fact, I have had some downloads that say, now, I've been to California. Now, upstate California, not so far south as where you are. And I've been up in them redwoods and camped up there. Now, not for days and days, but several days. Enough to understand, feel that my spirit is still in the redwoods up there in Northern California. There's still a place up there. It's south of the Oregon line, and it's right on the coast. It's a state park up there. And my brother and I stayed there. And I mean, you come out of the redwoods into this little plain that goes out to the cliffs to the Pacific. You don't get that kind of view around here, and I'll never forget that. But I could feel the fairy presence there. A lot of places I walked through them woods, and just absolutely thrilled. But there has been so much poison. I mean, every fall they come in with the defoliating cotton. And the defoliant, think Agent Orange, is everywhere. It's killed off all the sassafras trees around here that used to grow along the fence rows. I mean, I used to I didn't have any on my property, but it was right down the road, within a half a mile. I could sound to it. I could walk to it easy. There's none. I could walk for a day and not find any sassafras. In fact, I continue to look for sassafras in my area. It's all gone now. None. Like, what happened? Well, between the fact that they have stopped planting other things, they don't grow near as much corn around here. Everybody grows cotton now, and they use defoliant on all of the cotton. And I mean, they will fly and cover a house with this spray to get the cotton on either side of it. I know because I lived in a house and they did that to me, and I choked and vomited for 2 days and have a high degree of sensibility to chemicals now. And that happened 40 years ago before I bought this place. So I'm very well aware. But the amount of spraying that they're doing to defoliate the cotton, and of course, the peanut farmers, they got to have their spray for nematode. I mean, there are so many chemicals that they're spraying. And where's it going? Into the ground, into the groundwater, into the, even though I have woods, there a half a mile away, there are two huge farms for this area anyway that grow cotton. And these guys overspray all the time. And you'll see the forest be dead for 100 feet and away from the field, from where the crop duster came up and didn't shut his jets off in time. So we're getting poison, and it's right up against the river in my backyard. So when it rains off that cotton field and takes all that poison with it, it drains right in my backyard. And if the river comes up, it happens to flood where all the fairies lived. And it's cumulative. We are creating, somehow they are everywhere, even in the city, all around the farmers market. Sounds beautiful. The Galactics united with the realm to clean up a lot of that. The message you're in the crop circles. Yes, 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 I agree. And now as to how much, transmuting those frequencies as fast as they spray them, or we wouldn't be talking right now. Well, it's worked for up above, and it's working for the chemtrails. But this shit they spray off the back of tractors and out of these airplanes and stuff around it. I mean, they use helicopters to spray this stuff. It's unbelievable. And the good news is, if there is good news to this, they changed the chemical compounds several years ago, and it's not as nasty as it used to be on human beings. But every year, starting in September, the amount of wheezing, folks with respiratory issues, the doctor's offices go berserk trying to keep up with it. And it's because of cotton spray. But do you think that the government would stop spraying? No, it's all about money. So it's really horrible in that respect. But those people are going to be out of here. Those folks are going to be out of here. If I have to walk up to Atlanta and slap them silly, that stuff's going to stop. But got to put up with it in the meantime. It is what it is, So, but yeah, those changes are coming. And it seems like I've gotten some downloads about what I'm going to be working on. And it's like, right, their frequency doesn't match. And this is the whole point, I guess, of my discussing. We all need our frequency change if we're going to. If the Galactics is a lie, if the Earth blowing up doesn't happen, if all the negativisms and Armageddon is, if this is false for this right now, most of us still want to go to heaven. And that means changing our frequency. So regardless of what else goes on, the information is still pertinent. We still need to change our frequency. And if we change our frequency, then we can combat a lot of the more negative energies out there. And we can create, I firmly believe we can create utopia. But we just have to agree on it. And right now, I know I gave up. I came down here in the middle of the damn swamp and said, F you all people. You're too damn stupid for me to even want to discuss with this. You know, I've shifted your what? Your frequency? For real? But it's all about good. I feel good too. And I'm just simply, the full moon sitting out there, and, we're at the solstice area, and, and the Schumann Residence, all these things, if we were getting hammered from the sun, but I haven't found any evidence of that. So the frequencies hitting us right now even are galactic energies, not solar or necessarily from inside the solar system. So we're getting stuff, and they promised it was coming. Well, it's here. What else would make the Schumann Residence go wacko? Increased in, So I think it's all positive. And I'm hoping that this will continue, because in my discussion before about the things that we are pure light energy. Now, there are folks who are actually attacking the fact that, if you're talking about a being of light, you're talking about Lucifer. He's the light bearer. And I'm like, y'all better stop that mess right now. I'm speaking of our internal light as a being, and it's like, wait a minute. So these are Christian folks attacking other Christian folks who are talking about light, in internal light. And I'm like, wait a minute. Do you not understand that we are all light beings? Oh, yeah, but if you refer to light, then you refer to Lucifer. Oh, cut it out. That's why I'm not using, I don't use Anunnaki, I don't use thought, I don't use any terminology, because it confuses the issue. The issue is simple. Frequency. Doesn't matter who was here or how we got here or what. That's all really interesting, but that's not what's important. What's important is to change our frequency. So we focus on how to change it, not how we got here or what. Oh, but they're to blame. And this one, that's really good fun and everything to listen to. But we got to stop all that. Who is what and how and who brought it? The answer is this. We change our frequency. How do we do it to a positive? We use our energy, and we use the power, which is knowledge, all of our knowledge, our individual knowledge, our collective knowledge. We use the knowledge to have power. And in that power, we then have a focus. I wish to change the world and make it a better place. And with that focus, then you find a focal point in that subject. I wish to make the world a better place by helping people. This is mine. By helping people to focus. This is my focal point with what I do, to help people to find their frequency. And my intent, which is all of the above, my intent is to make this happen as simple as possible, with as much love and honesty and good vibes and energy as possible. Now, that's the message. I'm going to keep repeating it, but these are the things, how we get there. We are already the energy. The knowledge is our power. In order to get our power and our knowledge to work, we got to have a focus. We have to have some type of that. Then after we find out, we need to narrow it down to a focal point, and then we use our intent. Exactly. Heartfelt intent. This is not rocket science. This is really that simple. Now, but the discussion of how we forgive and how we need to go into our subconscious, these are how we get rid of things. But we keep our focus on the positive. We keep the focus on our focal point, focused intent with knowledge and power. And that is, we all wish peace. We do. We all wish peace. We wish harmony. Will I marry you? Sure. But I'm not coming to California. Sorry. I done been showed California. That can't happen, you know. Not California. As much as I like Upper California and up in there, and I would come back and I would visit, but you would have to chain me to a darn tree. That's just all there is to it. But you got to go, Miss Pamela. Wonderful, wonderful. It's 2 hours and 30 minutes for me, and I'm going to wrap it up. But I hope that helped you wrap up something for you and for anyone else who listens, not just you. But the other message I got from Mary today was touch one person, Dave. Touch one person. Don't worry about the world. Do I wish to change the world? Yeah. But first I have to reach one person. And that person reaches and reaches, reaches and reaches. But rather than worried about the entire world, which is my really big overall concern, but that's too big of a focus. I can't do that. But what I can do is focus on what we just discussed, and I can put my focal point in speaking with you and discussing this and other people. And so at the same time, then I've reached my goal. Because you can talk with someone else, you can laugh or not be whatever, it will carry through. This will be exponential. How fast it goes, not up to me. But the fact that I must speak, that is my job. That is my calling, and I'll be around. They're going to have to just, they've already tried, and I'm still here. So I could do this all night, but I have market at 6. I understand. I don't know what time it is at your place. It's almost 2:00 here, but I understand, and thank you. And just know that I'm going to be around. I'm going to have other topics to discuss, but it's hopefully it will all be in a positive form. Pamela, I wish you good luck at the farmers market. Always, always, always. And I will keep you in my prayers. And have a wonderful day. I will talk at you later. Be safe out there. You know there's already crazies. So it's 11:00 your time. Ooh, excuse me. Job well done. Thank you very much. My humble thanks and blessings to all from my heart, soul to your soul heart. Love, blessings. And I'll talk to you soon. And I really do mean it. And I'm sure you understand that. Full moon too. Yep. Bye, sweetie. Be safe. Talk to you later.